Ursul's on-air network. Today we're going to be interviewing our special guest, Taquan on how he could benefit from stem cell research. Come on out, Taquan. Hello.
Hello.
We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Okay, today we will be interviewing Anthony Conway, a registered nurse at the Pekin Hospital, whether for the dilemma between embryonic stem cell research and what exactly it is that they do. What are stem cells?
Stem cells are basically undifferentiated cells that can be used to turn into specific cells in the body.
Alright, so how exactly do stem cells work?
There's still a lot of research that's going on with stem cells, but basically stem cells work by taking the stem cells, and either injecting them into a certain tissue, or if you're treating a certain type of a disease, putting it there, and in hopes of those cells differentiating into mature cells of what cells could have been damaged. So essentially replaces bad cells with good cells.
Alright, so how successful, are embryonic stem cells?
As of now, embryonic stem cells, and for the most part all stem cell research, has shown really, really promising results. I believe that the statistic now is above 90% success rate. Problem being, there's kind of a wall that researchers run into because of ethical issues and funding issues. But so far, success is good.
Alright, so we know that they're pretty successful based on what you just said, so what diseases can stem cells potentially cure?
Stem cells could potentially cure, almost any disease, especially genetic diseases. Big, in particular, diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. They're being researched right now for tissue damage. Pretty much anything within the body that has any kind of pathogenic effect, it could reverse.
Alright, I'm just going to start asking random questions now, so what would be a good question to ask? I guess we could say the ethical dilemma, I can edit that part out, so what's the ethical dilemma when it comes to stem cells?
The ethical dilemma right now is going to embryonic stem cell research, basically because in order to harvest embryonic stem cells, you have to destroy a fertilized egg, which is a blastocyst. And so the process right now is, in order to get those stem cells, scientists have to go into a laboratory and take an egg and fertilize it within the test tube. And then they let that egg grow to a specific point until it gets to be a blastocyst. And in order to harvest those, you have to destroy the blastocyst. Well, right now the big dilemma is pro-choice versus people who are okay with abortion. And it kind of goes down to when you think life begins, whether it's at the point of conception or if it's at birth. And so if you're a pro-lifer and think that life is at conception, it becomes an ethical dilemma, especially in certain religions, because a living being could technically be being destroyed.
Now, I know that adult stem cells are allowed to be used right now. They're being studied. So my question is, why embryonic can't be? Is it, even though they've been proven to be more successful, is it basically just because of the ethical dilemma?
A big reason is the ethical dilemma right now, especially with it being such a hot button issue in abortion. And so I think it goes back to that. The stem cells that is harvested from umbilical cords or blood, bone marrow, that stuff hasn't run into any big snags per se, because you're not killing or hurting anybody to harvest those cells. But it's kind of tough right now. In order to do the research, you need quite a bit of money for funding, and typically most of the money from funding comes from federal funding from the government, and it goes back to hot button issues where no legislature or president wants to be the person who said abortion is okay on any level. So
to Bone. Clearly we have changed clothings here. We actually had an emergency fire drill during the break, so we all had a spare set of clothing and we just tossed them on. But we're back here with Taquan Do, and he's going to enlighten us on how he actually came about his injury.
Well, kind of a funny story, to be honest with you. I used to run track, and I was #1 throughout the nation in high school for sprints and stuff, so I was just showing off, thought I was being cool and all, running around the neighborhood, so I just decided to get a camera out and film exactly how I did it. I happened to fall and ended up breaking my radius and ulna, but then they found tumors and figured out that I had osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer, so it's not really a day that goes by that I don't think about that whole day. It just kind of replays in my head over and over again.
We actually have the clip of him falling. I think we can play it now. We actually had some dramatic music too to enhance the effect.
It's your boy Taquan Do, the world's fastest high school runner. And I'm going to give you guys a little mixtape of how I got so fast. You ready to see this?
Oh my God!
Make sure not to get the mirror, because I'm in the back.
We gotta get him to a hospital, now! Dude, we're at the hospital. We gotta get you in there.
Dude, I'm not. Turn that off.
Over here, we see some of Taquan's past sporting events.
Yeah, I used to be really big into sports and pretty much controlled my whole life, but ever since I got told that I had bone cancer, I haven't really been able to do that much. But in my room, I have a bunch of trophies and stuff too, if you want to come see those. Up here, I got some for pool, basketball, bowling, fishing, and then track too. I mean, you name it, I've pretty much done it, but really this is where I'm confined to, is just my little area, because I'm not really allowed to do that much physical activity now, so.
We'll be back with more Bone after these advertisements.
I can't walk. I can moonwalk. I can't play basketball. I can dunk. I can't fly. Guess how I got up here? We can't get off the roof. I can get off the roof. Got my vocal cords fixed so I can talk. Check.
Welcome back to Bone. Are there any last words you would like to say to our viewers before we sign off?
Yeah, I'd like to ask all the viewers in the audience tonight if they could, by chance, happen to write letters to their government asking if stem cell research could be passed, because people like me, there's no other option really. So I think it's kind of inhumane that if we have the potential to save lives, I feel like that's more immoral than anything at all, that we, by not taking advantage of that. So please write to the government. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Do it. Well, that's all the time we have at Bone. Remember, have a great evening. Stay fresh.
What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore.